part of this course, the part of the course where we basically all make the same thing. Well, as soon as we get past Project 2 and on to Project 3, we're going to have 4 to 5 weeks of you building whatever you want to build, okay? In VR or in AR, in Unity or in Unreal. And so it's probably not too early to start thinking about who you might want to work with on that final project. If you haven't started thinking about that yet, now would be the time. And of course, if you don't want to do that, then you will receive a random team, okay? Not the end of the world at all, so don't feel too much pressure, okay? But we have your P3 Gold finishing on Wednesday. So you've got just a few days left, and then we'll have a quick 5-day P2 postmortem. You'll do a quick write-up, how things went, right? Meant to be super nice, easy, fun assignment. Just dump your brain, okay? Don't let it take too much time. Just dump your thoughts out as fast as you can, and we'll be all good. On Wednesday, we'll also be launching your 4th XR film. This is the most unique of the XR films we're going to watch this semester. It has a very different tone and is quite a bit more difficult to parse than the films we have already seen. And so, I'll remind you again when Wednesday comes, but this Culture 4 film is a film that I highly recommend you watch with the class if you can, okay? As I can give you a bit of information before and after the film that will help you appreciate it dramatically more. It is a very tricky watch, okay? And you might not enjoy it at all if you just watch it on your own. But if you need to do that, that is also fine, okay? Today, what I would like to do is I'd like to show you a company, like always. This is a company that would fit in very well around here, okay? It is a manufacturing-related company. It is a company that uses XR to optimize the industrial operations and manufacturing sectors, okay? It is a company that is based in Singapore, and it is a company that is called Augmented, okay? Right away, you're hit with this tagline, digitize workflows, upskill your technicians, okay? Augmented is a software platform for building and deploying digital workflows for frontline workers on mobile devices and for AR devices as well. If you're wearing AR glasses, for instance, like this, okay? The Vuzix. I believe this projects light onto the lens right here from this little kind of arm device. And the information that gets projected is something that the company, the user of the software, can actually program and customize. So let's go ahead and watch a little video, okay? Maintenance, repair, and operations, inspection, remote support, and training. Okay, you can see all of this is extremely industrial. If you look at this online dashboard right here, you have a list of steps, okay, kind of like a list of slides, a list of things that will be shown on the visors for all of these engineers and technicians, right? See, they tap their face and that kind of moves them onto the next slide. And so if you have some sort of manual process that is extremely important that you do it consistently, right? Maybe it's a dangerous process. Maybe you're handling chemicals. Maybe you're dealing with a very heavy machinery. Then a checklist system like this or a tutorial system that shows you exactly what you need to do next and when and why can be extremely useful. I don't think it's too much of a secret, but I'm currently training to be a pilot. And I have, okay, some heads turned, so maybe that was a secret. I don't know. But I'm about 70 hours in, and the sheer amount of things you have to remember as a pilot to make these mechanical flying beasts work in a safe fashion, it's very substantial, okay? When you go up into the air to do your piloting, there are checklists of things you have to do one after another. And if you mess this up, you could put yourself in a very deadly situation, okay? For instance, if you try and take off from the runway, but you have all your flaps still deployed fully, Flaps are meant to ease your landing, not your takeoff. And so you will fail to take off. You might run into something at the end of the runway, be a very bad result, okay? Anyway, this is the kind of thing they're trying to solve, okay? Dangerous situations, situations where we need our technicians to not mess something up. We need them to know what to look for. We need them to do everything consistently. There you go, right? This is going to help with that. So this is what the technician is seeing and probably even hearing via these kind of glasses that he is wearing, okay? Showing him what to look for, what to do, and kind of going through that checklist and also possibly proving that he's done it, okay? Yeah, Augmented has this online tool that allows you to go in and customize workflows that are then deployed to your own workers and technicians in your facilities, in your warehouse, wherever, okay? This is super, super important because Augmented, the company, has no idea who will use this, okay? They think, yeah, it's probably going to be some industrial companies, right? But each industrial company has a slightly different workflow. They have a slightly different process. And so they can't just build this software. They have to also build in flexibility and customization and expressiveness so that you can use it no matter what your company is. No matter what you are doing, their app will work for you, okay? They've got remote support, so you can reach out and contact people when something goes wrong. It looks like maybe you can show people in the camera really easily. So you can't just tell them what's wrong. You can actually show them what's wrong. You can edit stuff online, and you can get to the kind of visual experience right here. Yeah, it looks like they have quite a few companies. Again, it's hard to understand which is a paying partner, which is just someone they're working with or doing some research experiments with, and who literally just agreed to talk with them or hang with them on a phone call once, okay? A few of these companies are quite big, right? Lufthansa, you've probably heard of, okay? Shell, right? Singapore Management University. Yeah, hopefully they are having an impact in some of these industrial companies, okay? All right. So any comments or questions on Augmented? I will say there's a lot of talk about manufacturing kind of moving around and returning to the area, hopefully. The Rust Belt has a lot of space for it. They have a lot of pre-built infrastructure for it, especially around here. But safety is such a huge thing, okay, in manufacturing in the USA. Something like this might be able to help out a lot, okay? So wish the company the best. Good luck to them. All right, let's go ahead. I've got a couple things to show you. I saw this recently. This is an average court case in the great U.S. state of Ohio. Oh, I guess not. Okay, I'll have to show you that later. Hold on. Let's go. Maybe I can find it. Yeah, here it is. Oh, this is the English version. That's not as fun. We'll try it though. This is what court cases in the justice system is like in Ohio. In case you didn't know. Okay, and my favorite part here is the busted animation. Watch this. There we go, and he's back up off the ground. So the team should take 298 so they can fix this animation up. Okay, let's keep going here. A quick note: as we get closer and closer to P3. All of us and our needs and our projects will be diverging, okay? Everyone will be working on a different engine. Everyone will be working toward a different goal. And so our lectures will become a bit more high level. Today we have a really fun, I think very heartwarming, higher level lecture. We're going to be talking about niche entrepreneurship. When you're looking for a problem to solve, should you always go for the big juicy problems, or can you get away with helping smaller problems that fewer people have? We're going to talk about this idea that niche problems can be enough when it comes to being an entrepreneur. In fact, more than enough, they're a great place to start, okay? But we'll also, in later lectures, we'll be talking about XR in education, XR in business, XR and art. Yeah, again, a big part of this is that you're all going to be working on very different things soon, but hopefully you'll have a good time. Now, it is almost backpacking season. This is a very exciting time for me. This is when I get to deal with enrollment challenges and have to contort myself. Imagine an engineer being forced to be a marketer, an advertiser for a few weeks. So I want to quickly just run by a few courses that may be of interest to you if you are thinking about new things to take next semester. Game Engine Architecture, great course. Not available next semester. It's an upper-level CS course. It only runs in the winter, so we will go ahead and move past. If you do like Unity, Unreal, you think they're powerful, cool stuff, then Game Engine Architecture is about building your own from scratch. It is an auto-graded course and a very, very heavy course, okay? Kind of on that EECS 482 level. But it will make you a dramatically better C++ programmer and a good Lua programmer as well, okay? This is a new course. This is the big exciting one that I've been spamming all over the place. Let me see real quick. I'm going to be shilling this course as hard as I possibly can because I want to have a really good enrollment. You can see I just posted this, the course to the UVM subreddit. This is going to be a course, EECS 298. It's a flex tech course. And it's all about this idea that at the University of Michigan, we are very good at programming things. We are very good at designing things as well. The 494 students, right? The students in here, the 440 students, you always make fantastic projects under the hood, and they're always well designed, but they usually don't look that great, okay? I'll just say it. Most of the projects coming out of this university, at least the CS department, they don't visually look appealing. They're not super engaging in that way. And that's a shame, right? Because if we could only get more attention on the awesome things that you're doing, I think that could mean some huge things for you, okay? I'm talking about winning student game awards. I'm talking about someone buying your class project. A few years ago, we had a student team in EECS 494 sign a 5-figure publishing deal to get their game published onto the consoles, and it was really, really cool. They were like the only team that had Blender knowledge in the entire course. And so the question is, how do we make our games look better? And so I'm going to teach you, okay? Next semester, we're all going to learn Blender. We're going to get pretty good at it. We're going to learn how to create cool characters. Their wireframe, their geometry, you see here with Daisy, the material work, UVs, expressions, facial expressions, and armatures and skeletons for posing, animation. But once we've taught you how to build things in Blender, how to create characters and environments and objects, then we're going to teach you how to go in and actually integrate these characters into an engine like Unity. As you've seen in this course, integration is not that easy, okay? And if you want super advanced features like dynamic hair physics, if you want flowing lava in your environments, if you want characters to walk past other characters and look them in the eye automatically, that stuff, that integration, right? It's very technical, all of this. So this is halfway between a technology, computer science, algorithms course, and also halfway between a 3D art and animation course. Thus, we end up with tech art. We will also be teaching you how to do your own photogrammetry, which you can kind of see here, but we'll actually be using a higher quality solution that's here at the Duderstadt Center. And we'll also be getting experience with the underground printing laboratory right beneath our feet here in the Duderstadt Center. You're going to be 3D printing some of your models and characters, okay? And at the very end of the semester, everyone is going to have probably about 30 of these daily 20-minute models. They're not completely daily. You can take days off. But you're going to have a big portfolio automatically generated for you that features all of your models, your playable characters, and you're all going to walk away with a 3D platformer that is multiplayer and has your characters and environment and narrative elements and story in it too. And if you wonder what on earth am I talking about, I think I've shown this before. If you go to EECS298.com and launch the game here, and this even works in your on your mobile phone. That took a long time, right? This is a sample of the 3D platforming game that you will finish the semester with, and you'll have created all the characters, right? So we got multiple characters in here, rigged up, given different animations, and you'll have created the plot for it, the collectible items, right? The various animations of all the characters, NPCs, dialogue, audio. It's going to be really, really fun stuff. You'll be given this. Oh, someone's right behind me. Is that you, Sean? Rest in peace. Yeah. Rest in peace. You got the checkpoint though, right? Yeah, there she is. You get, we're going to hand you basically the technology for this game. Just a pill running around a basic environment, and you have to art it up as the artist in the team. You have to integrate stuff, get the animations in, get them working, decide how you want to kind of cohesively design your level. So this is a really quick level I put together. It's basically about climbing a tree. So we got this big tree, and sometimes you jump on these platforms, but sometimes you jump on the limbs of the tree. It's a big Kaizo stage. It's actually, I wonder if Sean can catch up to us here. We'll have to see. But very hard, and you'll have online multiplayer by default. The basic idea is that you're going to do really cool art stuff, and you're going to want to send it to friends and family to show them. And so when you go into Unity, I created a custom feature, a custom toolbar. You go into Unity, and at the top of the Unity editor, you see this new EECS298 button. And if you click it, it will automatically build and upload your entire game as a web build, and then you can share it easily with friends and family, okay? Sean, let me know if you're ever able to get here, okay? I wish I had a sticker for you if you do. Maybe I should create one. Anyway, okay, that's enough shilling for now. I'll shill this more later. And if you cannot take it, I really appreciate you telling any of your friends or family about it. And yeah, thank you so much. EECS 494 is available next semester. These are the only two courses that are really available next semester. And EECS 494 has kind of the same DNA as EECS 440, but it is much more rigorous and much more intensive. That's not necessarily a bad thing, because you already are going to bring your skills, your game engine, your Unity skills into it. So the course will be easier for you than it would be for other people. But EECS 494 is all about traditional game development, right? So in game dev on a 2D screen, that doesn't mean a 2D game. It might be 3D, but you're going to be playing the game not in VR. So traditional game dev. We go much, much deeper into UX and game design. We have a lot of game design talks in that course. And we also go much deeper into design patterns within Unity with the C# programming language, okay? You end up remaking, so your very first project is to remake a classic game, which in this case you can kind of see is The Legend of Zelda. You could choose Metroid. So you remake a part of the classic game, and then you build a new dungeon or a new level. In this case, a new dungeon with a new mechanic, a motorbike that you can actually use, and it has many different purposes. The level guides you to learn them elegantly. Okay, so at first you learn you can jump gaps because you're trapped and there's no other way out. You then learn you can take down small enemies. You then learn that there are multiple speeds to your bike, and if you go really fast, you can jump even bigger gaps, right? So how do we teach people how to engage with an experience without stopping everything and shoving text in their face, okay? We really, really deeply care about those kind of user experience and game design and guidance things in EECS 494. It's part of what makes the course so challenging, but I think a very useful challenge as well. And then you make a gigantic game. I'm going to show you one trailer. So this is probably my favorite trailer from EECS 494 ever. And I think you'll see why within literally seconds. Okay, let's take a look. right? So fantastic. They worked super hard on the trailer. One thing I want to point out here, and I love to talk about this game, as part of guiding the player, helping players understand what's happening in the game, making our games juicy and full of personality, helping people understand what just happened, we had a big problem in this game. This is a 4-player game. It's very intense. It's very fast. And at first, the way that the team stored the coin-carrying information was exactly how you'd expect. A bunch of numbers at the top of the screen. If your character is holding 20 coins, you'll see a big 20 at the top of the screen. What's the problem with this from a usability perspective? You got this action-packed, fast-moving game. It's all happening in the center of the screen, but
even if it's at the top of the screen, you don't know exactly which boat has those.
yeah, exactly. You're trying to figure out, oh, who's got all the gold so I can go knock them out, right, and steal their gold. But wait a second. You're trying to look at the top of the screen to figure out who's got it, and then you're trying to find them down here, and your eyes are going back and forward, and while you're doing that, you just got shot, okay? No, no, no. We want important information to be close to where the player's eyes will be, where their focus will be, where their attention will be. And so we had the boats put the money, stack the money on top of the boat itself. As a result, the more money a boat has, the more they pop out of the screen, the more attention they command, and thus it's a wonderful, what we call a negative feedback loop. The richer you get, the bigger of a target you are, which brings you back to the pack and keeps the game competitive, okay? And then, of course, when you get hit or when you knock them out, watch what happens to the money. Boom! It goes flying in this beautiful visceral effect. If you had that big stack of gold and you just got hit, oh, it is heartbreaking, right? You can see the money flying everywhere. That's yours. You got to run around and collect it. It's like Sonic getting hit and his rings just go flying everywhere, right? Devastating, but very exciting. And of course, other players then get to swoop in and grab it, or your teammate can grab it and try and bail you out. In any case, the idea here, the takeaway, is that sometimes you can take information about a game's state and you can pack it into the world itself and into the game's aesthetics in a way that makes sense and really, really works and puts the attention of the player where you want it to be on the action and not over here in the UI, right? And so anyway, that's an example of the kind of stuff that 494 is all about. You can watch other trailers and stuff if you want to. We got a very large showcase event, which you can see in the photos here, and it's a good time, okay? If you take a second capstone course, it will not count as an upper-level CS, so be careful about that. But if you are really looking to join the video game or XR or visualization industry, if you're looking to work in a highly visual software field, yeah, you want these courses if you can get them, okay? Your portfolio will be dramatically better, as will your knowledge and your game engine experience, okay? So both those courses I would highly recommend. And Wolverine Soft Studio will probably be happening next semester as well. This is when you make a game with about 20 to 30 other students. It is a student-run game studio like Solar Car, but you get course credit for participating, okay? And so you can do that if you want to, and you can play some of their previous projects. They release at least one new game per semester, sometimes two, and they put their games on Steam as well. So if you've ever dreamed of having a Steam game, your game's going to go on itch, and then you might as well go on Steam, okay? So does anyone have any questions about any of that stuff, okay? Thanks for your patience as I shill all these wonderful courses. You know why I do it, right? I mean, I need to have good enrollment, yes. But on occasion, I meet a student, an awesome student, who is into this stuff, and they just didn't know it existed. They just flat out didn't see the courses in the course guide. They didn't see it in the Wolverine Access. They didn't find the website. No one told them about it, right? And it's heartbreaking because they graduate, and then usually they graduate, and I meet them like in their final semester. And they're like, oh my God, this is exactly the courses I've been looking for. And then they're gone, right? It's brutal. Oh. Okay, so anyway, that's why I shill these. And in a very real sense, if you think your friends would be interested in any of this stuff, please let them know as well. So you can all get your money's worth, okay? You're spending a lot of money to be here. We want you to be able to take the courses that you want. And you got to be able to know about them first, okay? So, yeah, let me know if you have any questions on any of that stuff. Otherwise, let's get to our main topic of the day. This idea that sometimes niche can be enough, all right? So, in October 2021, it was a very potent time for the metaverse. Why? We were in the middle of a global pandemic. We were all kind of forced to separate and start relying more heavily on our technology than ever before. It felt in many ways like we were living in our software in a kind of a real sense. But Mr. Zuckerberg thought maybe we could make this even more real, okay? Mr. Zuckerberg, my former boss, in October 2021, he made a really big move, which is not something you see happen often. He took his super successful, very profitable, very well-known company, Facebook, and he decided to rebrand and rename the company, okay? That is a massive move, and the day he did it, it was absolutely everywhere, okay? Massive news. He changed the name of the overall company to Meta. The Facebook product would still be named Facebook, but the overall company would be named Meta. Okay, why would you do this? All right, why would you do this? Well, Mr. Zuckerberg, for quite a while, had been entertaining the idea that his company, Oculus, right, that was so good at making virtual experiences and VR headsets, to enable those experiences, well, we are going to immerse ourselves more and more over time in software, okay? The pandemic seemed to prove it, and thus he decided to focus and go all in on this idea of a metaverse, all right? A metaverse. What is a metaverse, okay? This was a very big move for a big company, okay? Mark Zuckerberg has investors. He can't just do this willy-nilly. He has a lot of power. He has, I think, exclusive voting rights to the company, but he still has to justify and make moves that are prudent for his investors. Otherwise, he can get in trouble, even though he has voting control. Okay? And so, what did he do to justify this? Well, he put out kind of a famous, or you might call it infamous, video explaining what his vision for the metaverse was. And this is extremely difficult because remember, VR, the metaverse, immersion, is about a 3D experience, but the only way you can broadcast this to people is via a 2D screen. And so he has to somehow figure out how to explain the metaverse to people. And I want you to listen very carefully to what he says, okay? What he says during this video. All the ways he's trying to justify the metaverse. And it's not just to play games. Let's take a quick watch.
We believe the metaverse will be the successor to the mobile internet. We'll be able to feel present, like we're right there with people, no matter how far apart we actually are. We'll be able to express ourselves in new, joyful, completely immersive ways. And that's going to unlock a lot of amazing new experiences. When I send my parents a video of my kids, they're going to feel like they're right in the moment with us, not peering through a little window. When you play a game with your friends, you'll feel like you're right there together in a different world, not just on your computer by yourself. And when we're in a meeting in the metaverse, it'll feel like you're right in the room together, making eye contact, having a shared sense of space, and not just looking at a grid of faces on a screen. That's what we mean by an embodied internet. Instead of looking at a screen, you're going to be in these experiences. Everything we do online today, connecting socially, entertainment, games, work, is going to be more natural and vivid. This isn't about spending more time on screens. It's about making the time that we already spend better. Screens just can't convey the full range of human expression and connection. They can't deliver that deep feeling of presence. But the next version of the internet can. That's what we should be working towards. Technology that's built around people and how we actually experience the world and interact with each other. That's what the metaverse is all about. Now, the best way to understand the metaverse is to experience it yourself. But It's a little tough because it doesn't fully exist. Some of the basic building blocks are here, though, and others are starting to emerge as we speak. We're starting to get a sense of how it could all come together and what it could feel like. So today we're going to do something a little bit different. Rather than just focusing on this year's products like a normal keynote, we're going to talk about the future. So let's start by exploring what different kinds of metaverse experiences could feel like, starting with the most important experience of all, connecting with people. Imagine you put on your glasses or headset and you're instantly in your home space. It has parts of your physical home recreated virtually, it has things that are only possible virtually, and it has an incredibly inspiring view of whatever you find most beautiful.
Hey, are you coming?
Yeah, just gotta find something to wear. Alright, perfect.
Boy.
Oh, hey, Mark. Hey, what's going on?
Hi, Mark. What's up, Mark?
Whoa.
So this presentation is pretty cheesy. I actually really feel what Mr. Zuckerberg's trying to say, basically until we get to this point, at which point it seems to me that Mr. Zuckerberg doesn't have the tech or the team, or perhaps both, to actually make this work. But what did you notice? Mr. Zuckerberg spent way more time talking about what the metaverse is or should be, instead of just saying, yeah, metaverse, you play cool games there. He said more than just games, didn't he? Do you recall what he said? What is the metaverse? What are you going to do there? What could you do there? What's the vision? Yeah.
He said it's about connecting with people.
Connecting with people, okay, right? That sounds like a very nice, mushy, positive term. You know what company was really big in this era? A company that came out of nowhere, billions of dollars of worth, called Zoom. Okay, and another product from a big company called Microsoft Teams. Okay, and Slack. All right. So when he says connecting with other people, what is he actually saying? If you're an investor watching this, what did he just say to you?
It's the next.
Bingo. We're going to take down Zoom. That $1 billion valuation that Zoom has, it's going to be ours next. Okay? Now, I don't think that happens, but that's what he is saying. Okay? Because Mr. Zuckerberg can't just settle for one thing. He has to go and he has to take it all. Okay? Some quick context. Mr. Zuckerberg at this time is under a lot of stress and fire. He is being dragged to Congress to answer for data privacy scandals, okay, and other issues relating to his products and Facebook. He is dealing with investors who are revolting because Apple just laid the smackdown on Facebook, okay? Tim Apple comes out there and says, hey, Mr. Zuckerberg, sorry, you can't use our customers' data anymore. We're going to let them ask you not to track, and then you're going to lose API access, and your ads aren't going to be very effective anymore. That's going to ruin Facebook's business model, okay? So Mr. Zuckerberg is looking for something big, something new, and something positive. He also really wish he had a mobile phone platform, okay? Because his major product just got the knees cut out from it by Apple. And there's nothing that Facebook can do. Google would then turn around, and I think Google did the same thing, okay? You think Apple is going to, if Apple wants to know your user data, Apple can get it. Apple already has it, okay? If Google wants your user data, or OnePlus, okay, or Huawei, whoever is making a mobile phone device, right, they have access. They've got the power. They've got the platform. What platform does Mr. Zuckerberg have? None. Facebook needs to exist on top of one of these other existing platforms, thus they are vulnerable. So Mr. Zuckerberg wants a distraction right now, and he also really wishes he had a platform he could control. Okay, this is October 2021, the context for the launch of the metaverse, or his announcement of it. So when he comes out here in this video, and he says more than just we're going to play cool games. No, he says immersive video. What industries is he targeting when he says we're going to be the place for immersive video? You're going to watch films with us. You're not going to watch films anymore with who? Look at Netflix's market cap. Look at the money that YouTube is bringing Google. We're going to take it all, actually. That's ours now. It's going to be ours in the future. By the way, you're never going to go to a theater either. Okay, we're taking AMC's market share. Okay, all those theater chains, yeah, they're gone. Okay, it's going to be about immersive video. It's about the metaverse, which we're going to own. Okay, we're challenging YouTube. All right, and investors are a little bit interested. Okay, next, Mr. Zuckerberg says connecting with people, and he shows a meeting. I think later they show a business or corporate style meeting. Okay, we're coming for Zoom. We're coming for Microsoft Teams. We're coming for Slack. We're going to defeat them as well. We're taking their market share. We're going to own them. Okay? All right. And now investors are getting really interested. Okay? These are big industries that really matter to people and have a lot of revenue floating through them. Okay? This is sounding pretty good. Everything we do online, that means entertainment, that means games, that means work. What does Mr. Zuckerberg mean? We're going to be the future games industry. But we're also going to be the future collaboration industry. Anyone use Google Docs? Yeah, that's going to be us. That is what Mr. Zuckerberg is saying in this video to investors, okay? Investors are like, seriously? Whoa, all right, I'm liking this. Metaverse, let's do it, all right? Let's do it. We're going to be the successor to the mobile internet, okay? In fact, forget about your mobile devices. Pretty soon, you're going to wear that headset. You won't even need a mobile device anymore, okay? In fact, remember when the whole internet blew up? We're going to be all of that, okay? All of that in this one company, Meta, the metaverse. And the metaverse is going to sell to everyone. It's going to sell to every industry. And it will be the most important technology ever. Okay? And thus, you have investors who look at Ready Player One and they say, Mr. Zuckerberg is our James Halliday. And the Oasis is not going to be called the Oasis. It's going to be called Horizon Worlds. It's going to be called the Metaverse, and it's going to be run by a company called Meta and Mr. Zuckerberg. Okay? And the investors are going crazy. All right? They love it, and they cannot get enough. But fast forward a few years and the metaverse, the very idea of us living in Mr. Zuckerberg's metaverse is, it's a meme. It's a joke, okay? And you can find no end to the online articles and video essays discussing how it all went wrong for Mr. Zuckerberg, okay? Now, he's doing all right. Don't feel too bad for him, okay? Facebook, or Meta, as they're now known, as a company is doing just fine. Instagram's doing good. Facebook's doing pretty good. Oculus and Meta are still selling some great headsets, okay? It just didn't explode and take over the world, all right? And so I've got a question for you. Imagine what you might ask Mr. Zuckerberg. Hey, Mark, why don't you just make a really good version of VR chat and call it a day? You know, VR chat is kind of the killer app, or at least one of the few killer apps that VR has. Mr. Zuckerberg, why don't you just create a really good VR chat and take that chunk of the market and be happy? Be happy for now, at least. What's the problem here? Mr. Zuckerberg would probably say, well, I want to do that, but he can't stop, can he?
I think because it's nothing new.
Yeah.
Like coming out with Snapchat again.
Well, you're right. It's VR chat is already serving that part of the market. Yeah, they can jump in there and take that part of the market from them with a really good, well-executed version of their own. But that's not big enough, okay? Meta, it's very easy to forget, has a market cap of, I think, nowadays over $1 trillion. They have almost 100,000 employees across the globe. And thus, if you're going to say, Mr. Zuckerberg, why don't you just move in and kick out a small indie team, okay, that is not a big enough piece of the pie, okay? That is not something that a company in Meta's weight class can bother with, all right? VR chat is barely a blip on their radar, okay? If they are going to create new technologies, if they're going to justify a bunch of effort and time and money, they have to make the next version of the internet. It has to be that big. Otherwise, it is pointless for them to try, okay? This goal is far too small for Meta's weight class, all right? But here's the thing, and here's the crux of this entire talk, okay? You are not Mark Zuckerberg, okay? You are not Mark Zuckerberg. You are students at the University of Michigan. You have a small team with access to some very good hardware. You can move very fast, and you don't need any justification to try something. Mr. Zuckerberg does not have those freedoms, okay? He has unlimited money, and it is a cage for him. He's limited in the things that he can try. He has to go big, or he has to go home. You do not have to do that. For you, niche can be enough, all right? And I want to show you some of the coolest ideas, most impactful ideas that I think I've ever seen with XR. These ideas, when you watch them, they are so obvious that you cannot believe that they were not done before. And their impact is immediately so clear that it is hard to believe. Okay, watch this. Live captioning glasses let deaf people read and hear conversations with AR. Let's take a watch, okay?
This is a new way of being able to communicate and be included. Yeah, she's naturally looking at me. She's realised that she doesn't have to go to the grass.
Hello.
Hey Josh, it's Juliet. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
Powerful. It's powerful. The power and important for people who are hard of hearing all over the world to feel that they don't have to solely rely on lip reading. And it's a big one. I'm getting a real-time stream of subtitle information. Where ordinarily I might be behind, I might not quite catch everything, but this is a real-time narrative which enables me to be informed, it enables me to involve.
Effectively, we're taking that audio stream from the microphone on the glasses. What we're doing is then taking those captions and putting them into augmented reality. There was just a little epiphany moment where I thought, well, hang on a second. He watches TV all the time with subtitles on. Why can't we subtitle what?
So, in case you didn't catch it, right, if you are someone who is deaf, right, you cannot hear. Thus, you can still communicate with people. You can kind of sort of figure out what they're saying to you, but what do you have to do?
You have to watch, you have to look at them.
Bingo, you have to lip read, okay? And thus, your attention has to be very squarely focused on someone's lips as they are talking. If you look away for a second or get distracted, you're dead, okay? You're out of the conversation. And it can often be very difficult to figure out what people are saying even with lip reading because some lip movements and sounds are kind of ambiguous. They're too subtle to tell, or the sound is affected not so much by the lips, but by what the tongue does. And the tongue is very occluded. It's very hard to see what you're doing inside of your mouth, okay, to make a certain noise. And so here we have some glasses, and this reaction is amazing, right? She's kind of like, what on earth is, she's like, oh, these are just glasses. Oh, they're kind of boring, right? And oh, wait a second, I no longer need to actually be looking at you, right? And how delightful this isn't immediately obvious, but then it clicks for her, right? And she's like, oh, crap. Now I can actually hear what someone is saying to me on a phone call. Okay, phone calls where you can't see someone, you can't do lip reading, are a complete no-go for people who are deaf. But now, if you have these glasses running, you can actually get the translation through here, and you can respond back, all right? And so this is a game changer for you if you are deaf, okay? And it doesn't completely give you back your ability to communicate, because you had a little bit of that before. It just kind of fills in some of the gaps in your ability to communicate that weren't there before, okay? And I want to point out, right, that this was not some crazy, multi-billion-dollar, AI-powered nuclear device, research project. Do you recall how expensive this product was? It's about 450 pounds, or about $500 USD. That's it. Now, for me, that actually sounds like we could get that down, right? We could get that down, but there are comfort things, and maybe it's a bit more reliable. But this kind of device, like you go to a hospital to get something like this, and they probably charge you like 20 grand. Something outrageous like that, okay? Nothing crazy going on here. All the technology that made this possible has existed for a long time, okay? All it required is a small team to care enough about the people suffering this problem, to study the problem, to connect a few pieces of cheap existing technology, and suddenly you've made such a difference for people who have this problem that they will pay a lot more than $500 to have this solved, okay? Years later, half a decade later, Mr. Zuckerberg finally notices and creates what? His Ray-Bans, okay? 5 years later, all right? That's how fast a gigantic company can move when it comes to niche problems like this. No, niche problems like this that matter incredibly to a smaller number of people is where small teams, student teams, academic teams, small startups can win, okay? And do an amazing job and really, really help people in doing so. I'm going to show you another really cool product, and it has a fantastic video. This actually is coming from a small team within a big company, Microsoft, okay? So good guy Microsoft over here. Let's see what they've cooked up to serve a niche community in a really impactful way. Let's take a look. This is the Xbox Adaptive Controller. I've got a couple of these in my basement.
At Xbox, we have a controller design that our fans love. However, for gamers with limited mobility, or gamers who don't use both their hands, this controller design might not work best for them.
Doorknobs are the worst thing ever invented. Putting on shoes, the cell phones that I use. These are the sorts of things that we don't think about until we have to, and I think about them every day.
Yeah! I have cerebral palsy on my entire right side. This side of the controller is fine. This side doesn't have it. As the game platforms have gotten more sophisticated, the controllers have gotten more sophisticated, and it started to get really frustrating.
We designed the Xbox Adaptive Controller through feedback from the accessibility community.
The Xbox Adaptive Controller is really easy. You just plug it in, and then you can plug in various other devices. I can make it work in the way it has to.
With the Xbox
adaptive controller, a gamer can game with one hand and one foot, or one hand and their shoulder, or even one foot and their chin.
And I can change it from game.
Ready, forward. There it is.
Craig Hospital is a facility for patients who've either had a spinal cord injury or a traumatic brain injury, and it's a place for their rehab.
Yes. We're here at Game Night and we're helping new patients getting back into gaming again.
Yeah. Our role as occupational therapists is to get people back to doing when the Xbox adaptive controller came along, it acted like an Xbox controller, it just worked.
Uh-oh. Over there.
Ooh.
On the standard Xbox controller, it's just hard to press the button because I can't really put pressure in my hands. But then with the adaptive controller, I can use larger joysticks, larger buttons that are easier to press and reach.
Corey and his brother Zachary are twins. Before Corey's injury, Zachary had gamed with him regularly. That was what they related to each other as siblings.
Who do you love playing Xbox with here at Craig Hospital?
The Xbox adaptive controller and the co-pilot feature allowed them to play games together. So there's a huge social component to it.
Yes. They can play any game they want. I see the confidence just burst out of them.
And as you look at this device, can you point to the quantum computing processor on the device that brings it to life? No. Wait. Can you tell me about how LLMs and modern AI is used to make it work? Well, no, you can't. Okay, because again, right? It looks fancy and polished. It's coming from Microsoft. Okay, a small team at Microsoft. Nothing here is wildly technically complicated, okay? Right? All these things, just different sensors, kind of basic sensors, okay, and actuators, and that's it, okay? If you want to make something this impactful, if you want to make a device that really, really helps people the way you saw in the video, it's about taking simple things that already exist, knowing about the problem that this more niche group has, and going out there and solving it. Because again, Mr. Zuckerberg and big companies, their top groups, usually they just can't care about this stuff, okay? You wish they would, but if they make $10 million, that is an abject failure. An abject failure, and everyone's losing their jobs, okay? They need to make billions, okay? If you made your P3 project in here in EECS 440, and it took about a year, okay, but you end up selling your device or your software for $2 million, how happy are you? $2 million, split 4 ways, $500K. You're going to lose some of that to taxes, but a few $100,000 to get started, right? You happy with that? Would you take that right now if I could guarantee it happens? I would. Sounds pretty good. If you are Mr. Zuckerberg, that is absolutely pathetic, and you probably fire your whole team. Okay? And so you see that Mr. Zuckerberg can't do the things that you can do. Okay? It's almost paradoxical. The guy with all the resources is constrained by them. Okay, he sits in that powerful chair. He sits on that throne, but that throne won't let him go. Okay, and so please recognize the moment that you are in. Okay, a niche can be enough for you if you keep your team small, if you keep your costs low, which is definitely the case for everyone in this room. Okay. So something to ask yourself is, do you want to sell to the world or do you want to become someone's world, okay? Because when you look at the impact from these videos, right, this is an audience that almost never receives any attention, okay? They do have resources, and if you can be the one to solve their problem, and not many people have tried to solve their problems, then you can make a tremendous difference for them. And possibly you can create a successful small company. serving these more niche groups, okay? One of the cool comments I noticed underneath the glasses video on YouTube is actually the CEO throws in a quick comment, a YouTube comment, okay? Sometimes they are worth reading. And he says, hey, I'm Mitchell, one of the founders of the XR AI Glass. Thank you for the video. Most profound and rewarding initiative I've ever been involved with. It's nothing better than helping people out, helping them enjoy a richer life, okay? We're very humbled and proud. Nowhere in here does he say money, because chances are they're not making that much. They are making probably some money, but really they're making an impact, okay? And so I have a really quick personal anecdote for you, and I'll make it quick, right? This is in the world of video games. I made a game a couple of years ago. The publisher still hasn't finished localizing it. I have no idea. One day I'm just going to drop the game on Steam, be like, guys, you took too long. I'm just putting it out there. I made a game called Greek Tragedy. It is a kind of PS1 era, old feeling, classic survival horror game. It is themed around basically the only thing I know at any depth, a college campus. And you're trying to survive a fraternity that has kind of gone off the rails a little bit, gone a little bit crazy on campus. And so you're trying to escape campus, escape your dorms, find items to help you out and all that good stuff. This is all to say the game is weird, okay? It is a niche game. This is not a game that's going to sell 1 billion copies. It just won't, okay? But what was really interesting, right? We didn't have that many people interested in the game. We have a couple hundred people on our waiting list and on our Discord server, all that good stuff. But the people who are into this kind of game love this game. My God, there aren't very many of them, but they won't shut up, okay? And they keep asking me when the game's coming out, okay? And on occasion, I get in my email inbox like weird references coming from people that are basically like in-game jokes, okay? They're super into the game's universe, its style. If you play this game, and it's, I'll send you a free copy if you just send me an email, okay? The full game is finished, all right? But if you play the game or its demo, the game's going to feel extremely old. It feels stiff, all right? It's kind of done that way on purpose to harken back to the games in the 90s in this genre, right? Most people won't like it, but the people who are into it crave it, okay? And that is what you're doing when you go for a niche, all right? You're not trying to sell 1 billion copies. You're trying to find people who are not served, okay? If I make a game that's and get this, you're never going to believe this. If I make a game in the first-person military shooter genre and I release it on Xbox and Steam, who am I competing with? Who are my competitors? Am I alone here to just enjoy my monopoly on that first-person military shooter market? No? Oh, well, if there are competitors, I'm sure I can beat them. Who are my competitors? Anyone? Yes? Call of Duty? Oh, shit. Uh-oh. I don't think we can beat them. Okay, well, maybe we can come in second place and get a chunk of the market, okay? Who are our other competitors? Anyone know? Has anyone heard of Battlefield from EA? Uh-oh. Oh, goodness. By the way, who owns Call of Duty? Microsoft now, okay? Okay, well, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and we'll stay military, but we're going to go cartoony, maybe an anime art style. We're going to have really charismatic hero characters, okay? Everyone's going to want to buy a figure or a plush of them, okay? Am I fine now? Oh, who am I competing with now? Marvel Rivals? Oh, God, I've heard of them. We're in trouble. Okay, well, what if we come in second place to them? Oh, there's this game called Overwatch we have to worry about now. Oh, great, okay, right, I'm doomed, okay? If I go that route, I'm almost certainly doomed. Maybe I get super lucky with a new take that goes viral on the military first-person shooter genre. Probably not, though, okay? You know who my competitors are in the 90s era classic style, clunky survival horror genre, there's only a few thousand players in this genre in the market. Fortunately, there are very few competitors in this market either. There are a couple, and they do a great job, but it is feasible for me to defeat them. They are teams of 1 to 2 people living in upstate New York. Okay? They're very good at what they do, but I've got a fighting chance against them. I don't have a fighting chance against, EA, Microsoft, Activision Blizzard, okay, NetEase, Tencent. All right? Not much of a chance. So, choosing a niche is also partly about getting away from your rivals and getting into a market that's actually underserved. And this isn't just about making money and defeating your opponents. If EA and Activision and Microsoft and Tencent are all serving the military shooter genre, I'm not needed there. It's already served. Their problems are already solved. I should go solve someone else's problems, okay, that aren't being served. So this is a way of pushing me into a place where I can actually have an impact, all right? So anyway, there's a way to calculate the idea of social impact, all right? You can think about the number of people you're going to help, the number of people you're going to sell to. If you're Call of Duty, this is where the number is super high. Okay? But at the end of the day, you also want to multiply this number. You want to multiply this number by how much you can help them. The latest entry in Call of Duty is going to sell 1 billion copies. But it's not really going to do that much to help its users, right? The last year version of Call of Duty is probably going to be fine, all right, for them. Okay? A game like Super Mario Bros. Wonder from Nintendo, pretty awesome, 2D side-scrolling Mario game, classic style, but a bit crazy, has a ton of people that it is going to help, but it helps them very little, okay? If this game did not exist, they could go play any of the billion other Mario games, or they could go play a cheap indie game. They could play a really good cheap indie game like Celeste, okay, and have a great time. Okay? But let's look at a different product. Let's look at a product like these live caption glasses, of which, at least when it debuted, there was basically no alternative. Okay? This is it. This is the only thing that you're going to buy if you want to have your extremely important life problem solved. Okay? The number of people you are going to help here is going to be pretty small. Okay? Deafness is not a super common affliction. It is out there, right? It's not ultra common. But the amount that this product is going to help that person when you do find them, that niche, that market, is absolutely massive. You aren't just entertaining someone for a few hours. You are solving a huge issue in their daily life. You are literally allowing them to talk on the phone with their loved ones again. Okay? It's that important. And so, right, one thing to think about is, hey, this is a small audience, but we're really doing something impactful for them. So what does that mean you can do as far as pricing? What does that mean you can do pricing-wise? Through the roof, right? Hey, we're solving a huge problem in your life. Well, we can charge you 50 grand, can't we? Okay? If you do this, all right, you will absolutely be strung up, okay, and become a pariah, all right? Financial sustainability is very difficult, okay? Fewer customers means just charge more, right? You absolutely cannot do this, okay, which makes the situation a bit difficult for you. Otherwise, you'll become someone in the same vein as a Martin Shkreli. Does anyone know who Martin Shkreli is? A very famous name, in certain parts of the internet, okay, that I won't talk about. Martin Shkreli has a nickname, the Pharma Bro, okay? The Pharma Bro because he was a big jerk. What he did was possibly business sound, but it was not socially sound, okay? What he did, he came in with a chunk of cash, and he purchased the rights to a fairly important anti-parasitic drug. Okay, so Daraprim. If you have parasitic problems, you need this drug to prevent death. Okay? He raised the price of this drug from $13.50 per dose to $750 per dose. Okay? Like, someone do the math on that. Is that like 100x? Oh, God. Okay? That is outrageous. That's more than 100x. It's crazy. He didn't troll gamers, though. He was trolling people who were sick. All right? He was punishing people who were sick. He was trying to squeeze money out of people who were just trying to not die. All right? And absolutely everyone disliked that. And that's not the kind of thing you can hide. All right? And so you started to see headlines like this in 2015, 2016 on all of the major media sites and newspapers. Okay, drug goes from $350 to $750 per night. That's not a production issue. Okay, that's not a question of just recouping your investment. Companies founded by Martin Shkreli will pay in dare prim right, blah, 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 blah. Class action settlement, $28 million. Okay, this is kind of like the jury's just going to hate your guts the moment you show up in their court. Like, no matter how justified you might be or not in the eyes of the law. Shkreli ordered to return $64 million banned forever from the drug industry. Jeez, man, he made a lot of people very, very angry. Okay, amazing. Yeah, and then he was thrown in prison for like 5 years or something like that. Okay, he had been doing other stuff. He didn't get thrown in prison for raising the price. He had some other stuff that was not from his past that was not on the level. But I think the thing here was he did go and absolutely piss off everyone in a very like holy war kind of way. And he got a lot of people looking into his past for anything he may have done wrong. At which point someone found something and was more than happy to throw his ass in jail. This is all to say that even being in the right legally does not mean it's going to work out well for you in every situation. You should be very careful, okay? And do try and act with at least some sense of moral, at least a tiny pinch of it, and you'll probably avoid some of these issues, okay? This is all to say, right, difficult business model situation when you are targeting a niche audience. You're going to have fewer customers, so you have to charge more. That's probably the reason that it's $500 for the glasses instead of $150, okay? You have to charge more just to keep the lights on, but if you go crazy, you will get into very serious social consequences for doing so. So be careful, all right? So what I want to do for the rest of this lecture, in fact, we're going to do this when we come back because we're about halfway through. I want to explore and talk about some interesting niches for you, and I want you to be thinking about, this is an XR course. What could I do with AR or VR to maybe address some problems here? We're going to talk about the other way to go about that too, learning about these kind of problems and then seeing if we can solve them, okay? We're going to talk about how are these niches currently being served, okay? And we might think a little bit about some P3 project ideas, okay? This is, after all, about social impact. The old name for this course used to be EECS 4898, XR and Society. Now it's 440, XR for Social Impact. But let's go ahead and take our 5-minute break, and then we'll come back, and I've got some fun and not so fun things to show you. Okay? See you in 5 minutes. How are you?
Good. The other day you were while talking about music. It also saves marriages. Is it? Because my husband and I live they're in a bathroom. The music always got louder more. And then when they're done playing, it gets like quieter.
Yes.
So then I can interrupt him.
Amazing.
I know when I get interrupted and not get in trouble.
It's in games, it's a very difficult challenge with audio. With a film, you know exactly how long the film is, when certain emotional moments will hit.
Right.
So you can kind of pre-compose your music and have certain emotions, certain tones. The problem with games is that you don't know if the player is going to be successful or not successful. You don't know if they're going to walk over the corner and straight. Somehow you change the thing.
Yeah.
So when a fight comes in, helping to figure out how to escalate it without sounding shocking.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm glad
that's
they had that feature.
Oh, that saved my so
Saved
many
the day.
times. I get yelled at.
Hey.
Hi, I'm not in this class. I'm for front four.
Yep.
Can I ask you a question about Unity during the break?
Sure, go for it, real quick.
So my group's using a newer version of Unity.
Okay.
Because apparently they never opened game before. And I was wondering if it's like worth the effort to try to get back to what version it's on Kane.
Unity 6, the most recent versions of Unity are pretty good. But in general, they don't add anything that's critical.
Yeah.
And so I'm guessing that your project idea will certainly work on the older versions of Unity. Unity 2022, which is what I'm guessing they have. It can sometimes be a bit of a risk. Well, not a risk, because you've got version control. As long as you're hooked up with version control, you can't mess this up.
Yeah.
But when you backport, you've got a project, Unity 6, and you try and open it in Unity 2024, it usually lets you do it, but often things go haywire.
Yeah.
So it's easier to upgrade a project to a new version of Unity than it is to take a newer version project and bring it to an older version of Unity. Because lots of things change. I think a lot of things change with Unity 6. So, maybe you could talk to the front desk and ask if Unity 6 can be loaded. They've done that before in the past. It takes a week or two. But alternatively, if you've got a desktop and a laptop, that's probably where you're going to have the best experience. So you can talk about it as a team. You can do the experiment to see if it backports. Sometimes it does well. Sometimes it doesn't.
I was just debating, because my team is probably going to be resistive to it. So I'll just not go for that.
Okay. Whatever you decide.
Thank you, though.
Okay. Let's continue on. Okay. So what I'd like to do here is I'd like to show you something. I'd like to show you a building. Okay, you can see on the outside what this building is. It is the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, a big institution in the United States that monitors disease, it monitors health outcomes, it monitors drugs, and the Center for Disease Control is a huge institution during the pandemic era. It became very well known for issuing a lot of guidance during the pandemic on how to move about, how to prevent spread, and stuff like that. It's also a very good source for disability statistics, at least those in the USA. Okay, and they put out various bits of information, infographics, and charts like this. Up to 1 in 4 adults, right, 27% in the United States have some sort of disability. Thus, people who have these problems are, it's niche, but it's not a small one. Okay, these different disabilities, though, come in a lot of different styles. We've got 12% of people who have difficulty getting up or walking around stairs. Do you know what segment of the population tends to have a lot of challenges and disabilities? Older people. You know what segment of the population tends to have quite a lot of resources and money? Older people, okay? If you can find a problem that an older segment of the population has and you can solve it consistently and at a high quality, you can make a business out of that, okay? You absolutely can. I imagine it might be a bit difficult to getting older populations to... Older populations are not necessarily known for wanting to try a lot of new things, okay? That might be one of the difficulties you run into, but it's definitely an interesting population with interesting problems and resources to help you solve them. Cognition, right? Difficulty concentrating, difficulty remembering, difficulty making decisions. It wasn't that long ago when games like Brain Age, right? Train your brain in minutes a day. Came out and created a little mini subgenre, right? There's been a lot of money made digitizing Sudoku puzzles, which my grandparents could not get enough of, right? You've got people who are struggling with independent living, right? Difficulty doing their errands alone, on their own. You've got people with hearing, okay? You've got people with vision loss, self-care issues and stuff like that, okay? You can get broader stats for the entire world from the World Health Organization, the WHO, WHO, okay? Color blindness is a very interesting issue that a lot of people face, okay? One of my friends had color blindness. In fact, I think 1 in 10 males deals with color blindness, and I think 1 in 200 or so for females, or 1 in 40 or something like that for females. If you don't know what color blindness is, colorblindAwareness.org has a lot of very cool tools to help you get a feel for it. These look kind of similar in color, especially these last few. But if you are not colorblind, you can see that they have, in fact, very distinctive colors. If you are colorblind, then you're probably looking at this a bit confused because it all looks the same anyway, right? And as we move this window, it looks the same on both sides. In fact, over here, it's much more vibrant and very distinctive, the colors, okay? Here's another good one. Here, right, a lot of the shirts look the same. Here, it's a gradient. Every student has a different shirt, or every kid has a different shirt. Over here, it's like many of the shirts look the same. You've got a bunch of greens, you've got a bunch of reds in here. Over here, you've got greens, yellow pops out, red, blues, teal, red, pink, okay? And so it can be very stark. 1 in 12 men and 1 in 200 women have color blindness. This translates to 300 million people worldwide. That is a humongous market of people that you can help if you can figure out how to deal with this, okay? The issue under the hood is that there's a bit of a defect in color detecting cells in your eye. And red-green color blindness is very, very common, okay? By the way, speaking of piloting school, so in order to be legal, you need to have what's called anti-collision lights on your plane. On the tip of your wing, these are the lights that blink, okay, on each tip of the plane to help you understand kind of where the plane is at. And the one on the left is red, okay, comrade, and the one on the right is green. If you see a red and a green light nearby each other, depending on their orientation in the darkness at night, you can tell which way the plane is pointing, actually, because you know that the red is on the left wing and green is on the right. What happens if you're colorblind? Oops. Okay, that wasn't maybe such a great choice, but it's the standard now, and it's on all sorts of planes. It's built in. But if you are colorblind, that's a bit of an issue for you, okay? I think that's part of why whenever you hear about pilots, they undergo training for their eyesight. And I had to do that, okay, to check how good my eyesight is, because it's kind of important when you're in a plane, all right? So colorblindness, what can you do to address this? If you are a company, if you're making software, if you're a game studio, is there something that you can do? And the answer is actually yes, there are things you can do. And there's a really cool video about how the League of Legends team, actually maybe this is Dota, I think this is Dota, how the Dota team chose to deal with this and how it became like one of the most popular features for any player, not just colorblind players. Let's take a look.
Now, for colorblind players, the early days of League of Legends were pretty rough. Red and green colorblind players could barely even tell the difference between their opponent's groups and their own. They're called minions? What? Why do League players call last hit CS then? God, it's like this game wants to fit. Riot's solution was a one-size-fits-all colorblind mode which combats both deuteranopia and protanopia. Those suffering from deuteranopia have trouble seeing green cone pigments, while those with protanopia struggle with red cone pigments. This mode turns most of the red and green in the game into blue and yellow, allowing players to differentiate between all of the abilities more easily. But what Riot didn't expect was for non-colorblind players to start adopting the same setting.
If you watch a lot of pro player streams, then you might have noticed that some of their HB bars are yellow rather than green. This is because they use a setting called colorblind mode, which was originally meant for people who have trouble seeing specific colors or who can't see colors at all. Now, by turning this on, the abilities will look much more distinguishable and they'll actually be easier to see.
You see, these colorblind changes also offer a slight competitive advantage to visibility at a high level. So all players start off.
Yes. So, readability and the UX in general changed as a result of the developers focusing on how can we help colorblind players play our game. As a result, it just became kind of the default mode. And I suspect that in future versions of Dota or a Dota follow-up, it'll just be the default, okay? Just take care of it all, just like that from the beginning, all right? Fortnite, the biggest game in the world right now, as far as I know, I think it displaced Minecraft, also has a bunch of colorblind settings, okay? And it's kind of interesting to see what they do. Let's take a look.
Over here because I want to keep it consistent. Alrighty guys, so here's what the game looks like on totally normal. This is no colorblind settings or anything. Then I'm going to hop right here into my settings and I don't know what that music is. And oh yeah, I forgot it's on the first page right here, colorblind. We're going to go to Deuteranopia, but we're going to set it all the way up to 10. And as you can see, this makes the game very dark. But here's Deuteranopia 10, so it's very, very dark. It has a lot of contrast. I'll go ahead and switch this down to 5 and show you guys what that looks like as well. Here we go. As you can see, it's pretty much the same thing, just a little bit less severe. Alrighty guys, so moving on here to Protanopia, and you can see it's a lot less dark. It still has that contrast to it, but it's not quite as dark as Deuteranopia. Personally, I think this is a pretty good mix of like having that little bit of darkness there, but also having that big contrast. If you can see how much the difference is between this. So here's a picture of what Protanopia 5 looks like. As you can see, this looks really good, actually. I really like this mode. And finally, here we go on to Tritanopia. So this is Tritanopia 10 right here. This is a very vibrant looking mode. It has this big contrast here, just like the other ones, and you can see all the shadows and everything, but it's like a much more vibrant version of the game than the other modes. Like Protanopia and Deuteranopia both make it kind of darker. This thing needs to shut up. But as I was saying, Protanopia and Deuteranopia both make it a bit darker in my opinion, but this makes it way more vibrant. And lastly, I'm going to go ahead and switch my Tritanopia down to Tritanopia 5, and this is just beautiful. I love it.
Okay, I don't know what it says about my vision that I can't really tell a lot of the difference between all these modes. But if you are colorblind, apparently this makes a really big difference. Okay, just a slight change in color can really make certain important elements pop out of the background. And in my recommendations to 494 students, when they have a color scheme that uses things like red and green, what I usually recommend is introducing pattern as well. So you can, for instance, texture a button in a certain way that makes it very distinctive from the texturing of another button, even if their color appears to look the same to certain players. Okay? And so, yeah, kind of interesting. Okay, here's a really interesting one. Okay, phantom pain. Does anyone know what this is? Amputees. If you lose a limb, okay, that is a very difficult thing just to start with. You're down a limb, and but what's even worse is that often when you lose a limb, you suffer a kind of radiating pain coming from where the limb used to be. So it's not just that you no longer have functioning of your hand, it's that your hand is begging for attention and annoying you and radiating pain at all times. And so it's a very big problem on top of an already big problem. Okay? And basically, yes, this image captures it pretty effectively. Your brain is confused. Okay? It thinks there should be a limb there. It finds no information coming from that limb, and thus it starts to radiate pain, and it's very annoying. Okay? It is also a condition that is actually in pop culture to some extent. Okay? Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, pretty cool game. The Who here, right? 80% of amputee patients experience this to some extent. There are 1.6 million amputees in the USA, so that brings us to about 1.3 million people just in this country who you might be able to help if you could find a way to solve this problem, okay, or at least mitigate it. The idea here, it's not entirely understood. It seems to me, I don't have a ton of friends in the medical space, but it seems to me that the mind and how it works is still not fully understood by the scientific community, at least not very well. It's a pain and discomfort that emanates from a phantom limb that does not exist anymore. The pathophysiology is poorly understood. But basically your brain expects something to be there, it's not there, and thus you feel the pain coming from that area, okay? But interestingly, we don't know what's causing this, but we do have a way to solve it. This was discovered by Dr. Ramachandran, okay, right in this photo, and his mirror box solution in the 90s. Okay, and the basic idea is this: you have your existing limb, and humans in many ways are symmetric, or largely symmetric, and so you can actually use a mirror to fake the visuals of your other missing limb. Okay, to bring your limb back. When your brain sees this, suddenly the pain disappears or is relieved, okay? And there's a great sense of relief, apparently, when patients use this mirror therapy, okay? And so it's pretty extraordinary. But there's some problems with this, okay, right? The mirror is right there. It's not something you can really move around and exercise with, okay? It's heavy, it's physical, okay? You don't want to bump into it. And so, University of Texas, Dallas team decided to ask themselves, well, what if we could have a bit more flexibility? Okay, a mirror is capable of making a limb appear, but we have software that can do this too. Okay, and so what else can we do with this? Let's take a look at this. Okay, UT Dallas Research Lab.
My full name is Frederick Dean Peterson. I've been wearing a prosthetic leg for just about 17 years now. Then in 2005, I had an accident, and that put me a little down, but not as much down as we thought it would. And so I've just been enduring since. They said, well, you're a good candidate. Would you come back next week and we'll fit you for it? So I did, and got the basic training from them. Took it home. It was a 1-month trial. and you're supposed to do the exercise in the morning and in the evening. And in my case, the whole idea is to deal with phantom limb pain. And there's a therapy that's been done for decades called mirror therapy. And that's all this is a version of mirror therapy, trying to trick my brain into thinking I actually have a foot there. Because a lot of the phantom limb pain is just your nerve saying, I know there's supposed to be a foot there, I'm trying to find it. And so when you're tricking it into believing it's actually there, the nerves calm down.
You can see that this is more than just, hey, you look and there appears to be a limb there, right, in VR. This is also exercising as well. And so we can not only put people into this location where they can see that missing limb, its back, but we can actually have them doing things with it, playing mini games, doing exercises, and monitoring them over time. And so the idea of mirror therapy is advancing and becoming more effective as time goes on. And it's just a small team at a university, okay? And, sorry, UT Dallas, right? Not a shockingly prestigious one either, right? UT Dallas is a great university. And this kind of innovation can absolutely happen anywhere, right? You don't need to be at University of Michigan's most prestigious lab or MIT or Carnegie Mellon to make amazing things happen for people in a way that really helps them, okay? You can go anywhere. You could even go to MSU, okay? I know you don't believe me, but you could make it happen at MSU, all right? Okay, so what's the point of telling you all this, all right? The typical path that a lot of entrepreneurs, and you are all in that entrepreneurial mold right now, okay? The typical path for making a big impact is this, all right? You build some sort of technology that is of interest to you, okay? You might build a phone app, or you might, VR is really cool. Let's build something in VR. You then try and find a problem that you can solve with that cool thing you just built, all right? And then finally, at the very end, you start to understand the problems that you are solving, okay? This is very common because often we aren't in the proper entrepreneurial mindset. We are just engineers and we just want to make cool stuff. Has anyone ever made something technological just because they thought it sounded kind of cool? Everyone? When the iPhone was coming out, I went and got a dev kit and built an iPhone app. Why? I don't know. I thought it was cool to have my own app that I could show people, right? Yay. What problems was it solving? None. And thus, it didn't work and it didn't take off. And it was just a good learning experiment for me, okay? And that happens way too often. Have you ever heard of the phrase, a solution searching for a problem? Very common mistake for entrepreneurs to make. I think many people would say that Mr. Zuckerberg's metaverse is a solution looking for a problem. Do we really need to be in a virtual world to have a meeting? Do we need to be in a virtual world to see our house virtually recreated? Why can't we just take off the glasses and see it in our house? We already have that, right? What problem are we solving here? It's cool, but is it solving a problem? No, not really, okay? The proper way, okay, and it's very painful for many people to go this proper way, but you got to do it. The proper way to be an impactful entrepreneur is to do this, the entrepreneur's path. First, you go out and you do something that no engineer ever wants to do. What do? What is every engineer scared of doing, nervous to do? What's the worst way you could torture an engineer? Force them to go talk to other people, okay? What you need to do, I kid you not, is you have to go find problems that are out there, which means your goal is to go talk to as many people as you can. And I don't know about you, okay, but that's the kind of thing that makes me inherently nervous and anxious. And maybe you don't believe me. No one believes me because I'm up here doing my job and presenting to a bunch of people, right? But I actually don't go out of my way to go talk to people one-on-one or go to parties or go outside. Okay? Why? Because I'm a nerd, okay? And I'm an engineer, and it's not my element. I'd rather stay inside and program all day and all that good stuff. But you need to go out, find people's problems, talk to people. If you go downtown to Ann Arbor Spark and get into their entrepreneurial boot camp, where they're going to give you some money, they're going to give you some great connections, they'll give you free office space, food, stuff like that, try and help your startup succeed. You know what they will require you to do? At least 100 interviews, okay? Where you're taking notes and talking to people that are hopefully relevant to your product. You have to do 100. They will force you to do this, or they'll kick you out, all right? And this is why. First, you must find problems, and then you have to try and understand them, okay? You might talk to people who say, wow, it's really hard to make web builds in 2025. I want to make this game, and I want to be available on the web, but it's so nasty. Unity has this awful web export. It looks terrible, and it takes all day, right? And you might hear this from multiple people. Okay? And at that point, you need to understand what the problem is. Why is Unity so slow? Why is Unreal web export so bad? Okay? People can't use it. It's a huge problem. And once you understand the problem and you understand that this problem is one that exists, actual people actually have this problem and they complain about it all the time, then you could finally build something that solves the problem. Okay? Midway through talking to people, you might discover that the problem you thought people had isn't actually a problem. Actually, the problem is something else, okay? And that becomes your winning ticket, your golden ticket to win the lottery, okay? A big company isn't going to care about that small problem, or they'll get distracted, right, by the bigger problems. Your winning golden ticket for the lottery is that you're the only person who's talked to enough people to see the problem and who has taken enough time to understand it in order to solve it. No one else can solve that problem, okay? The more people you talk to, the fewer competitors you're going to have, all right? Anyway, because none of your competitors either want to talk to 100 people. No one wants to do this part of it, okay? No one that I know. Anyway, at the very end, you've got the problem you care about, you understand the problem, you know there's a market to solve it, you go and you build technology that improves the problem. And then you try and sell it to the people you talk to, okay? Maybe you give it away for free at first to get some customers and figure things out more, and then eventually it snowballs, and now you can charge for it, and now you've got a mini company that has no competitors, okay? Some competitors start to show up, and then you defeat them because you got the first mover advantage. And there you go, okay? Now you're not a small company anymore, you're a bigger one, all right? So this is how you really want to do it, all right? And if you ever see a struggling entrepreneur, there's a very good chance that they've gone about this in the wrong order. Sometimes you can make the typical path work. You get lucky. The thing you built for fun actually does solve some problems. More often, you know the people who get really rich around here? You know what they build? I kid you not. They build software for farmers, okay? How many of you grew up and you're learning programming, you're dreaming of becoming a rock star game developer, or you want to build the latest cool VR experience? How many of you grew up and said, I want to be a computer scientist, I want to be a rock star programmer because I want to solve the problems that farmers have? No. How about I want to become a computer scientist so that I can improve the efficiency of accounting software by 20%? No? None of you? Yeah, that's why people get rich by solving those problems, because they enter that domain and they have no competition. All right? Hey, you want to make the next big indie game? You want to make your own Undertale or Five Nights at Freddy's? How's about it? Couldn't be too hard, right? You go to itch.io and you're going to see, hopefully you won't see not safe for work games on campus. You're going to see that hundreds and billions and gajillions, okay, realistically hundreds of games are coming out every single day, okay? There's a new game. All right. And unless you've got a very, very unique idea, you are not going to do anything in that field. Why? It's already solved. Okay. So do not build a game and then go, oh, shoot, I have to try and sell this. I only built the game because I thought it would be cool. No, go out and find people who have problems. Go out and find people who no one is talking to. Okay. And they will have problems that no one is solving. And if you can be the one to solve it, you'll have the market all to yourself, a monopoly, and they will love you. They might have a very boring field, but if they've got cash, you can make that work. Okay? So please keep that in mind. If you do this top route, it often leads to something called malinvestment, where you dump a bunch of money and time, or your investors are dumping a bunch of money in, and it just leads nowhere. Okay, it's just burnt money that could have gone to a better entrepreneur, to a better startup, to a better team, and actually solved someone's problems. Okay, I'm going to show you a company in this last 4 minutes called Juicero. It is a famous company. This is a company. Let's watch the trailer, and you tell me what this company does. Okay, Juicero. This is a famous company. Everyone has heard of Juicero. If you go to San Francisco, it's a famous disaster. Okay, let's watch.
Taking juice is easy.
Start by taking a stroll down to the neighborhood farmer's market. Buy about $50 worth of organic fruits and vegetables. Don't forget to bring a tote bag. Do you sell tote bags?
No, we'll just carry it.
Did you forget your toe?
Wash your fruits and vegetables. Cut them, chop them, wash them again, peel them.
Biggest deal is broken.
Take your juicer out from the back of your cupboard. Realize there's still a part missing. Find it. Figure out how to put it all together, then juice. And you're done. Oh, but did you think you were done? Because you're not. Now you've made a big old mess that you have to clean up the machine, the countertop, pretty much your whole kitchen.
Those beats out of anything.
Alright, so making juice isn't easy at all. It's actually a huge pain. But what if you didn't have to?
What is this?
It's a Juicero.
I'm sorry, I don't know that word. It's Juicero. Okay, define it for me.
Juicero, the best juice ever.
What comes out of Juicero is so fresh that it shouldn't even be called juice. It should just be called, I don't know, squash produce, because that's what it is. Our founder Doug is straight up made of juice.
Literally, there's juice in my veins.
Doug and the Juicero team have taken care of everything. Not just the washing, the peeling, and the chopping, but the growing, the harvesting, the washing, the refrigerating, the transport, the inspecting, you mentioned the washing, packaging, and finally delivering to your house. And we haven't even gotten to the most genius part yet. There's nothing to clean. No mess whatsoever. It's so easy that it makes the old way of juicing seem, well, old.
Why did I do all that other stuff?
Who cares? It's our past life. This is our new life.
Juicero. The easiest, freshest, most delicious way to get juice.
What was that bomb at the end? When she said that? I don't know. But it's a slick trailer, okay? Like, can you see how this might get an investor hyped up? Okay, yeah, Juicero, it's going to change everything, okay? It's going to change the world of juice, all right? It didn't. It was one of the biggest failures in Silicon Valley, okay? Circa 2015 or so, the Internet of Things, the idea that we're going to have all sorts of these common devices like a juicer, but it's going to be high tech. It's going to be connected to the Internet. It's going to have AI, okay? And all this fancy stuff, the Internet of Things, basically, was super big idea, all right? And Juicero was a kind of leading product in that space, all right? But if you ignore the fancy trailer and you put aside the hype for a moment and you get down into it, you ask yourself, well, what problem does this solve? What problem does it solve? Okay, well, you might say it solves the problem of juice pressing quality. Machinery within the Juicero presser is able to improve the texture and consistency and the taste of the final product, okay? Well, Juicero took a huge black eye, okay, when the Bloomberg research team, journalists at Bloomberg, went and they actually did comparison tests, and they discovered that the packets that the stuff comes in, you can squeeze them with your hands and the juice will come out. What's more, the Juicero squeezer doesn't do anything special here. The result is exactly the same, and in blind taste tests, no one could actually tell the difference consistently. And so, wait a second. what is the value of this thing right here, this machine, this fancy, expensive machine? What is the point? Okay, and there is none, okay? So this is not a problem it actually solves. Well, what about this? Does it solve the problem of a raw organic juice availability? And the answer is also no, okay? Because these are things that even in 2015, that was so long ago, you could get easily at most stores, all right? And you can get them today. You can get them delivered to you, all right? And so, right, what are the problems this device solves? Because here's what happened. The team said, Internet of Things, I want to make a juicer. We'll figure out what it does later. We'll justify it to people later, right? It's Internet of Things. It's going to look great. People will buy it. But they made something that didn't actually solve a problem that real people have in the real world. And that is a massive problem. Hewitt, who was the Bloomberg reporter who broke Juicero's back. It's funny to imagine him coming in with the chair, the steel chair, and finishing off a useless product like this, okay? At least it looks cool, right? Here's what he had to say. You can have this idea with the best intentions and a lofty vision for what you'd like to create. And you end up creating this beautiful, strong, gleaming machine. But in all of that, you somehow lose sight of the fact that the machine is not needed for its main purpose. It doesn't solve a problem, okay? $120 million in funding for a problem that did not exist. That is $120 million that could have gone to a much better purpose, to a much better team that actually helped real people who do have real problems today. Okay? Instead, it went to a machine and it was just lit on fire. Okay? So here's your takeaway. Okay? Find a problem, talk to people, find a problem, and then try and understand it. Okay? You can try something non-XR related. Okay? Here's a quick one and then we'll get you out of here. Visual impairment. Okay? American Foundation for the Blind. The Amazon Basics microwave is one of the best things you can buy if you're blind. Do you know why? This is recommended by the American Foundation for the Blind. This is the thing you got to have in your kitchen if you are blind. It will make your life dramatically better. Why? Because it has simple voice controls. That's all that was needed. It has Alexa. Hey, Alexa, I can't see any of the buttons, but would you please heat this for 2 minutes? I just put a cup of coffee in. Okay? And it's $60. It does not need any fancy quantum mechanics. It does not need any LLMs. It doesn't need any hype, okay? You can fix people's actual problems without getting $120 million in funding, okay? Courses like $4.95 Software for Access have you do this kind of stuff. It's a great course if you're interested in it, okay? But here's the thing. Do not worry about scaling. Leave that problem to Mr. Zuckerberg, okay? If you get really successful, then you can worry about it then. Don't worry about changing the entire world, okay? Explore the world, talk to people, and find a niche that is being underserved, okay? And that niche is going to be enough, all right? That is how you make a difference right now as a student, as a small team, as a small startup, okay? Without needing a whole lot to get you going, all right? So keep that in the back of your mind, all right? Good entrepreneurs do this. They find problems that are maybe a bit boring, a little bit more obscure, that aren't as romantic or as sexy, okay? But they matter. Problems that matter to people. Maybe not a ton of people, but to a group, okay? And it really matters to them, all right? And so think about your project 3 and what interesting people are out there and what interesting problems those people have. And you'll find a way to be socially impactful in this course. And you get a lot of points on that P3, okay? All right, everyone, I will see you next time, okay? Next time, we're going to have another normal lecture. We'll be launching Culture 4. We'll be finishing off P2 Gold. Good luck finishing P2 Gold. Do the best you can. And we're going to have office hours from 6 to 8 p.m. tonight, and I'll try and help you with any last-minute issues, okay? Difficult project. Usually said this is the hardest one in the entire course, and you almost made it through it. So congratulations. All right. We'll see you Wednesday. Bye-bye.